Yes, thank you. Just a short introduction why I am here, because we are in a project together with your university. It's about sustainable entrepreneurship. It's about how we could transform the world to be more green and encourage students, encourage PhD students, and encourage professors to actually take the knowledge and make it into businesses. We are 8 partners around Europe who are in this project, and we had just started in April month, and it was actually, I had the opportunity to meet the people from Estonia for the first time in Ghent, and it was nice, and then I invited myself to visit the partner to talk about how to work with entrepreneurship. And I could do a long speak about the project, but this is not what I'm going to do. I'm going to start off with a small exercise for you, just to get this feeling about creativity. So I will kindly ask you to find your phone, go into notes, or you can do it the best way I prefer it, with a piece of paper and a pen. Thank you for being analog. I will give you exactly 2 minutes to write down as many things you can do with a paperclip. Very simple exercise. What could you do with a paperclip? Write down as many things as possible, and you have 2 minutes from now, so please start writing down. That was the first 30 seconds. If you have 5, if you have 10, that was a minute. Last 30 seconds. Ten seconds. Squeeze your brain for the last idea. That's it. Please count the numbers you have. How many ideas did you came up with? 5? Is there no? Let's start in the other way. Normally what I'll do with my student is saying that those who have above 20 should stand here, and then make a line until those who only have 1 in that direction. But since we are on a strict time, I won't do that exercise. So I just want to ask, is there anyone who have above 15? Excellent. How many? Congratulations. You have 1, so to give her an award. Just out of curiosity, which one was the most stupid idea? Yeah, you can actually do a painting with it. And then how many ended up with below 5? I won't ask you any question. Because there's a purpose between this. Here is actually just some examples of what you can do with a paperclips. The purpose of this exercise is to talk about constraints. Because when you imagine the paper clips, you only have these small things, but this is actually the world's largest paper clip. That is 20 meters high. So there are many things. There is also this paper swing. The most bizarre idea I ever heard was from a girl from Bulgaria. She was quite shy, raising her hand and saying, "A sex toy for a hamster." And I didn't know what to say, and I just went further on. But the idea of this is actually to talk with my students about getting energy into a room. When we start my classes, we always start off with a small warm exercise, because I want the energy in my room where I teach. So people actually have motivation for being there and not just sitting and watching on the phone. Because what we need to shift away from is this what we are used to, that we do some reading at home, then we come in, watch the lecture, doing a presentation, go home and do some practices. What we need, if we need to keep speed up in Europe, we actually need to go into flipped classroom, where we, before classes, do the reading, watch the lecture. I normally also giving the students the opportunity not to watch my lectures, but watch some of the best professors in the world lectures, telling them about the book that they have been reading. It's more funny to read in marketing, to read Kotler's book and listen to Kotler's presentation of his book instead of my interpretation of the book. In classroom, we should discuss, we should do some practices, and we should also get feedback from students. So we have discussions, we are interactive, and do stuff, because that is motivating, and then we are learning, because we are learning not by listening, we are learning by doing and reflecting. And that is actually where we want to push teaching. And then we can go home and do practices. Because when we are teaching about entrepreneurship, there are basically 4 approaches that is relevant to look at. And that is, you can do teaching about entrepreneurship, where you will learn to do a business plan. They will tell you about good example of entrepreneurs, Bill Gates, Steve Jobs. But when you are 25 years and are studying mechanical engineering and watching the life of Steve Jobs and Bill Gates, that is really difficult, because they went out of college, they did not graduate, and so on. But that is not the good example. It's more the near role models that is relevant. Those students who recently graduated and came out with their own company. So we should actually flip it around and say we need to teach true entrepreneurship, where we have students doing it and working with their own ideas. You can do it really hard, as to do at Aalto School of Business in Helsinki, that they have one course. The criteria for passing the course is that if your company within a semester could create a revenue of 10,000 euro. If you don't do it, you have failed. So that is really putting in learning true entrepreneurship to the limit. There are also alternative ways where you actually work with students, where they do exercises, because the difficult thing about entrepreneurship is not theory, it's practice, it's execution. And you can do many examples where students actually should do something. We have fashion students, so they do an live presentation of some of their colleagues, so they can illustrate it. They need to find people who need to participate. They need to find sponsors for the event, organize food, and so on. So they're doing stuff. So when we're teaching, we actually need to focus on how to get so much possible further into how to do things by experience. So if you go back and see it, it's also this you can call flipped classroom, because we want to give the students the skills. And another example, when we're talking about sustainability, I have another exercise I do with my students, where I'm saying, okay, now I'm actually in Estonia, so I have ranked you. This is the day where you have used the resources available for your nation. So you have already spent more in Estonia than you actually have available. We are almost the same in Denmark. And we had a discussion about this. Is this good for the climate and so on? Because this is really something that is difficult. Because we're buying, we're doing new stuff, but how could we do it differently? Because then we had more discussion about what is it that we're used to. That is take, make, use, destroy, throw away. Then we have the alternative where we recycle. And then there is also the last where we actually are more circular in our approach, where we're saying, okay, we don't need to throw things away. We actually need to repair, recycle, return, and reuse. Some of our students is taking this part about repair, so they have organized repair shops where you can actually go in. So if your T-shirt is destroyed, you can actually put print on it so it looks nice again. So this is about making exercises into this area about being circular. Because if you want to take this picture here and saying, okay, how could we actually turn back time? Because the scary part is 20 years ago, Denmark was in August. So within 25 years, we are by March 26 have reused or used all the resources that is available for us. And there are two. Then what I do with my students is saying, okay, how do we actually do this? And saying that this is where we are today, and this is where we want to go. If you should set back time and saying, okay, there are two approaches to it. There's one way, you probably know her. Yeah. I won't say anything more. What he believes in is actually this degrowth. That we should basically stop producing, reuse, don't travel anymore, take the train, take a boat, and really dig down in a hole, sit there, and wait till the world is saved by itself. On the other hand, we have this guy. He is also from Scandinavia. He's actually a Dane. And when I tell what he is, and look at how he dress, he is actually one of the largest investors in Denmark. He's a former Ministry of Education and also been on this TV show that is called Dragon's Den, where you can go in and pitch your ideas. After being a minister for 2 years, he did quit politics because he actually wanted to do something, not discuss things. And then he created his own investment company where he only invests in green companies. And what he's saying is that we need to stop talking about unicorns and start talking about gigacorns. So gigacorns is actually a company that is worth more than $1 billion and also take 1 billion gigaton of CO2 out of the atmosphere. So, and this is, of course, a paradox where we have two different approaches to how should we change the world. So over here at the one end, we have Greta Thunberg, who basically is saying that we need to degrowth. And on the other side, we have Tommy saying that we actually need to refocus and focus on how could we be more sustainable. How could we grow a company who is actually based on turning back time and also earning money? So what I'm asking my students for when I do this exercise is actually come up here, and I group them in two groups. Those who are firm believer of Greta Thunberg, those who are firm believer of Tommy Ahlers, and those who say we need to something both. And what we have then I ask them to find a representative from each group, come up here, and then I do it like a TV journalist and actually have a discussion with the students. And ask the audience if they have any questions to the 3 representatives. And then we spend 20 minutes on talking about and debating and discussing about how to make the world more green based on paradox. And theoretical, what is the next step we could do is actually saying that everybody know the business model canvas. But there are also two other perspectives in our way of looking at businesses. The classical one is financial approach. The other one is based on how do we look at the environmental impact of our product, and what could we do actually to make sure what we do with end of life, discuss with that, and how could we actually make sure we have a business model that we can report on how we give money back to, or we are more green in our approach. So we also discuss that. And the other one is a social approach to it. So how could we actually contribute to society? So there are three ways and look at a business model based on finance, based on sustainability, and based on being social. And normally I'm saying that this is not new and it's not rocket science, because there is actually a good example. That is an old traditional British brand called Barber. They have been sustainable for several years. What they actually do is that they have developed a business model where they look at your jacket and saying, okay, it needs to be re-waxed. So you go into your local store, they will send it to either, in my case it will be in Stockholm, where I pay 50 euros to get it re-waxed. And I had my jacket for 20 years now and have re-waxed it 8 times. So they have actually created a business model where it's sustainable. I reuse the product because I don't throw it away. The only person who hates it is my wife because she thinks it's ugly. I love it because it's really getting vintage. And they also have created a foundation where they're looking at how could we actually give something back to society in the area where we're working. So they're supporting local hospitals, and they're supporting initiatives that could actually make a contribution to their area in the UK. So it's not rocket science, it's about actually looking at the business model. And then I don't have time for actually a good case story, because this is about what I ask my students to work with and develop a 3-button layer model of the business model of this guy. He's from Greece. He has discovered, or he has developed a school for fishes. What he realized that there are too much plastic in the ocean. So he actually created a company where he reuse plastic and actually sell product and are training young Greek people into being fishers. So he's doing something for society, and he's also doing something for an environmental impact, and surprisingly enough, he is also earning money on it. So if you want to go in and support him and buy the product he have available now, you can go in and buy a kayak that is available based on reused materials from the sea. That was my short introduction to the project, and also to work with flipped classroom, so we can actually have a new approach to learning new things, because one of the most critical things we need to learn is critical thinking, is creativity, it's innovation, and it's entrepreneurship, and we need to do it by teaching in or through entrepreneurship, not about it. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Erik. Do you think the flipped classroom model is equally effective across different subjects and age groups, or is it better suited to certain contexts?
I think it's suitable in all classes. It's just about rethinking the way you do it. Because if you're teaching national economy, you can actually work as the Ministry of Finance and doing the debate where you actually have the same question that you have in the exam, but actually need to do something. And at the end of the class, you actually need to make this financial budget. So you can actually, it's just about rethinking the way you're doing it, because we have learned the student about the theory back at home. They have watched the lectures, but we want them to discuss and do things.
How many professors and teachers have actually accepted this way of teaching, and how much resistance have you met among your colleagues?
We are a minority who do it this way. But if you look at the reports of or evaluation of those teachers who actually are doing flipped classroom, they are actually one of the most beloved lectures, because in the beginning it's difficult because students are used to sit and watch and learn and then don't do anything.
Well, they're just scrolling their phones most of the time, I guess.
Yeah.
I've seen some.
Yeah, and I've been sitting back in the room, so don't argue about that. No, it's about actually creating, and it's not because people also saying this is entertainment. No, it's for this 15 minutes it was partly entertainment just to show you some example. But when you do it home, it's really it is demanding much more as a professor, because when you do this, you need to really be preparing. You need to be working as a facilitator. You are not allowed to be the person who have the right answer for everything. You need to be the person who have the right question for everything, and let the student think and reflect by themselves by asking them a good question.
When you teach this triple-layered business model to also startups, which layer tends to trigger the strongest resistance?
That is really different. That is different on what you're studying. We have those who are studying social science. They are totally in love with the social impact, and they hate this about finance because they don't see the purpose of it. And if you go on the other end and you have business students who want to do an app, they're really focusing on the financial impact and do we need to be social? So it's based on what kind of student you have, and then you need to trick them into discussion and reflection about what they're doing.
Thank you so much. Wonderful presentation.